In today's photo deconstruction, I'm going to show you a technique where I light a diffusion filter from behind with an optical spot and a gel for really eye-catching results. Hey everybody, Lindsay Adler here, and you may be familiar with my optical spot. Now, it has been super in demand, and so it's been backordered and hard to get, but guess what? At the posting of this video, it is available, it's in stock. Check the links in the description below so you can grab yours. Well, that being said, for those of you who don't know, an optical spot is a specialty modifier that allows you to project specific patterns, different shapes, slices of light on your subject, or, as you'll see in this case, on the background, or both. Now, for this shot, I wanted to create something that was romantic, a little mysterious, playing with pinks and purples, a beauty shot, but guess what? I've done it a million times. And so I wanted to do something different, come up with something new. And so what I decided to do was light a background from behind. Now in kind of old movie days, this would be called rear projection. But in this case, what I wanted to do was to take an optical spot, something that could cast a pattern or a shape, and light a background from behind so that shape would be directly behind the subject. And so you can see the results here. But how did I do it? So it was achieved with 3 different lights, 2 of which were optical spots. So let's take a look. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about the background behind the subject. Directly behind my subject is something called a diffusion filter. Specifically, it's the Lee Heavy Frost filter. Now, diffusion filters are used very often when photographing, let's say, product photography. They're used to make big, soft light sources, kind of like scrims for products. They're also used in cinema so that you can create like really soft, diffused light. But in this case, they're going to use it a little bit differently. So you can see I have it directly behind my subject. This gives me a white background. However, now we're going to light it from behind. So you can see that the optical spot to the right-hand side of the frame has a heart gobo on it with a magenta gel. What this allowed me to do is create a heart, and I positioned it behind the head, almost like a light crown behind my subject. And by the way, I'm using the kit lens for the optical spot. The heart is also a kit gobo, so you don't even have to get anything else. It comes with the optical spot. Now, what's nice about lighting from behind is, first of all, the subject can be close to the background, which is very nice. You can also have multiple colors hitting the background. So for example, you can have one light from behind with a gel, but you could also have another fill light from the front with another color, and so you can get a mix of colored lights and texture. But another reason that I like this is that when the light hits the lead diffusion filter, what it does is it allows some light to pass through and hit the subject. So if we actually go back to the original image, do you see how there's a glow of pink around her head? And then you see that beautiful magenta highlight on her shoulder. Let's say, for example, you're like, oh, with an optical spot, I'm just going to light the background. I'm going to point it at the background. Well, sure, you could also get this heart shape, but you wouldn't also get this beautiful rim light and this beautiful glow and haze around her head. So that's one of the benefits of lighting the filter from behind. Another way, by the way, if you don't know what these filters are, I'm saying filters, but it's basically a piece of vellum. It's like just a big semi-translucent piece of paper, but it's made for this purpose. Okay, so now let's actually go back over. So our first light, as I mentioned, optical spot, magenta gel, heart gobo, gives us the shape on the background as well as that beautiful magenta highlight glowing around our subject. Okay, then I needed to light my subject from the front. I mean, I could have done this in a million different ways, but I decided to add another optical spot. Now, the optical spot that I added is here. It's on the main light, a kit lens again, but I used the shutters of the optical spot. So what I mean by that is I took the shutters, and there's those little leaves that allow you to close in and create slices of light. So I created a very narrow beam of light to light the subject's face, and you can see that in the original. So I'm just illuminating part of her face. Now, the reason I wanted to do this is because I wanted to add a bit of color to the shadows. I wanted to be able to take some of the pinks and purples of the background and also light the subject with some of those pinks and purples. So restricting the area of light gave me a beam of light down the face and then an area to fill in, which is where our third strobe comes into practice, which is the medium umbrella with diffusion, and I had kind of a pink purple gel. Now, if you don't know about using gels and how to decide where color shows up in your frame, you definitely want to check out my class, The Magic of Gels. But one of the secrets is that gels show up most in shadow areas. So that's why I created the slice of light in the face, which created shadows. Then I added the medium umbrella with the purple pink gel, which then filled in the shadows with that color, which is what you see in the final shot. So looking at the shot, again, you've got optical spot from behind with magenta gel, which is what gives that pink glow on the background, which is beautiful. Then the optical spot in the front with the shutters, those leaves closed down to give just a slice of light on her face. And then a medium umbrella with the purple pink gel to fill in the shadows from the front and also give a kiss of that pink purple onto the front of the leaf filter. So you can see each light has a job. And this is a totally different approach for how I created a beauty image in the past. This is totally new to me and super exciting. Now, before we move on, let's talk a little bit about the camera that we're using here. I was using the Canon R5 and one of my go-to beauty lenses, which is the 24-105, doesn't sound like a beauty lens, but in this case, because I'm getting kind of a wider frame, a bigger scene, and not just doing a close-up beauty shot, it's really nice to have that flexibility. I could also have used 70-200. I just would have been at the wider end of that focal length. I was shooting at f4, ISO 400. Now, one of the reasons that I was shooting at a wider aperture, a little bit higher of an ISO, not super high, is because optical spots, the way that they concentrate the light and focus the light, a lot of times you lose light. So it's beneficial to shoot slightly wider open or shoot at a little bit higher ISO so you don't have to have your strobes at full power. Okay, so now let's look at what was captured in camera versus what was captured in post. So this is the raw, out of camera, no changes whatsoever, no contrast, nothing. And so you can see it's actually pretty close and the light on her face is beautiful and she needs really minimal retouching. Really one of the biggest changes was contrast. And then you can see around the edge of the frame that it becomes a little bit more purple. Now, as you noticed, the fill light in the front, I used a purple pink gel on purpose. I didn't feel like in my image I was getting enough of that purple pink color coming through. So what I did is in Camera Raw, I added a vignette to the edges of the frame. So I darkened down the edge. And then in Photoshop, I used selective color, which allows me to decide where I can put individual colors in the frame. So I can make the highlights a certain color and the shadows have a certain color cast. And so what I did in this case, I took the shadow areas and I added a little bit of that blue cyan, which makes it go a little bit more purple. And so I'm able to have this beautiful, peaceful, analogous color schemes of pinks and purples, but still have it be really dramatic. So I get drama and peace at the same time in one image. One of the things that I like about revisiting similar concepts, like the concept of a dramatic beauty image with a slice of light, with pinks and purples, the reason I like to go back to some concepts and revisit them over and over again is so that I don't want to get bored, so I keep experimenting and I keep finding new things, and then it pushes me forward creatively and technically. And so I don't just shoot one approach and then say, okay, I've conquered it, move on to the next thing. Or I don't shoot just one approach and go, oh, that worked, I'm going to stick with that forever. I keep pushing and diving deeper and deeper. So if you would like to learn more about the optical spot, first of all, when you purchase the optical spot, within the kit itself, there's actually a link to a 40-minute video that takes you through the 5 main ways to use the optical spot. But I also have an optical spot lighting guide that has many, more than 20 different setups for how you can use an optical spot creatively or to create texture on the background or create even the look of window light coming in through a window at sunset. So there are creative ways to use an optical spot, but you can also use it to create environment. And then last but not least, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel because I am using the optical spot all the time and you can see how I use it in my portfolio and my client work. If you'd like to see the gear used in the making of these images here, be sure to check out the link in the description below and visit adorama.com. And of course, you're going to want to like and subscribe because I have many more videos just like this one coming your way. See you next time, guys.